Tonight, winter's early arrival sticks around, not with more snow, but extreme cold.
Having nowhere to go in this weather, people can freeze and die on the streets.
Advocates for homeless people in this city are concerned shelters are already operating at near capacity. Plus,
2 words get you in trouble like that, and that's the way it is.
Don Cherry speaks to the CBC, not apologizing, but admitting his choice of words was wrong. And anger and disbelief just a day after Torontonians gathered to honor our veterans, vandals defaced the cenotaph outside Old City Hall. Good evening, I'm Mike Wise. The city has issued its first extreme cold weather alert of the season, with temperatures forecast to dip to at least -15. And with winter weather arriving much earlier than expected, many are worrying about the city's homeless population. Our Kelda Yoon is outside Metro Hall tonight, where a warming center opened up last night, and it's open there again tonight as well. So, Kelda, it filled up quickly.
Yeah, it definitely did. It opened at 7 o'clock last night in anticipation of today's extreme cold weather alert. Advocates tell me that it opened with about 40 cots, and within an hour and a half, they were all taken and people had to be turned away.
People are really cold and they're unprepared.
Street nurse Roxy Danielson says Metro Hall needs more cots, and that's just the start.
People don't have coats, they don't have mitts, they don't have hats. A lot of organizations don't have winter gear to hand out yet. This snow came as a surprise for a lot of people.
Rafi Aaron has been advocating for the city to declare an emergency, saying it will take another 2,000 beds to meet demand.
For all 3 levels of government to come together to make a task force and say, okay, who has vacant buildings? How are we going to get these beds? How are we going to save lives?
It's unfortunately too late for Jennifer Evans' friend Richard, who was found dead in the cold this morning.
He had a really optimistic viewpoint on life despite having had so many terrible things happen to him.
He was discovered inside this ferry shelter near Billy Bishop. Evans leaving these flowers in his memory. She says, like some of the homeless, Richard chose not to go to a shelter despite the bitter chill.
And he was very vulnerable. He was a double amputee. He had been everything from assaulted to robbed. It was not a safe place for him.
But even for the many seeking a warm bed, advocates say it's been tough luck.
The whole system is clogged. The referral center on Peter Street is not operating there. On any given night, there are 50 people sleeping there in chairs.
And Metro Hall will only remain open as a warming center for the duration of the cold weather alert. Now, advocates, of course, they would like to see it open for the duration of the winter. I also looked at city numbers. All but one of the city's 24-hour respite centers are at full capacity. And as for permanent shelters, all of them are near or at full capacity. Send it back to you, Mike.
That's something this early into the season. Okay, thank you, Kelda. Let's check in with our meteorologist, Colette Kennedy. Right now, we are dealing with some record-breaking cold overnight.
Yeah, here we go again tonight, where we're going to see those temperatures falling off and getting there into new records. In fact, tonight we're going to kind of smash it. But I don't just want to talk about the temperatures, which we're going to get to in a second. I want to get to how it's actually going to feel. So this is a look at just a few of the wind chill that we're going to see tonight. And you're really going to feel those towards tomorrow morning. This is at 8 a.m. So generally that -20, getting close to it. Markham maybe a little bit better at that hour, just if the winds ease up a little bit, but feeling like we're near -20 and temperatures approaching the mid-teens in the negative. So like I said, we'll show you that. Daytime highs, no surprise. Look where we were today. And we should be at this time of year seasonal, hey, closer to 7-8 degrees for a high into the afternoon. Not only that, the northwesterly winds coming across the lakes are having an impact and creating some of these squalls. And then Wednesday night into Thursday morning, we may add a few centimeters of snow onto things into the GTA. So the Thursday morning commute could be a very sloppy one, and that's all the way back towards southwestern Ontario. A look at those numbers overnight tonight, -13 on the thermometer. Tomorrow afternoon, climb only to -4. We will have some sunshine, which will be good. Late in the day, though, the clouds start to move in as that system approaches. I'll have more on that coming up, Mike.
Okay, thanks, Colette. We are hearing from Don Cherry tonight, a day after Sportsnet fired him over controversial comments he made Saturday on Coach's Corner. He came under intense criticism after an on-air rant suggesting new Canadians don't wear poppies. Tonight, he's not apologizing, but clarifying, saying it's only a big deal because he used the words, "you people." Here's Don Cherry speaking to CBC producer Simon Dingley.
Do you regret using the words "you people"?
No, I should have used yes, I think I should have used the word everybody instead of you people. If I had it to do over again, I think I would have used everybody.
Do you admit mistakes were made here?
Well, I think if you want to say mistakes, I think it was a mistake. But I think the big thing was that I said I should have said everybody. That was the big thing. I had a meeting with Rogers, and it was a pretty good meeting with the two bosses. And I said I'd come on and explain and what I said and how I said it and what I should have said, and that wasn't good enough.
Cherry went on to say Rogers wanted him to do something more, but he wouldn't get into it. Asked how he felt about Ron MacLean speaking out against him, he said he's very disappointed, but still counts MacLean as a friend. As for the future, he says right now he has no plans. Well, there's a lot of anger and disappointment downtown tonight after someone vandalized the old City Hall cenotaph this morning.
It's disgusting, and the people should be brought to court if they're caught, and a stiff sentence.
Can't believe it. I was here yesterday. There were so many people enjoying this ceremony, and today this.
Passerbys noticed the vandalism and called police this morning. Someone spray painted the words, "Ye broke faith with us," on both the front and back of the monument. Now, those words referencing a line in the John McCrae poem, "In Flanders Fields." The mayor among those today expressing anger.
It would be disgraceful any day of the year, but I think the day after Remembrance Day, when people had gone there yesterday and made such a sincere gesture of remembrance and a salute for our men and women who served us is beyond comprehension.
Crews tried to remove the paint this afternoon. Police will review security cameras in the area in attempts to track down the vandal or vandals. Peel's police chief stepping forward today to offer a reward in the unsolved murder of a 23-year-old man last year.
This senseless act of this innocent young man on his way home from work while he was helping support his schooling is a tragic circumstance that we all are having difficulty rationalizing.
Jason Ramkishan was driving on Highway 410 near Courtney Park Drive a year ago tomorrow. A car pulled up alongside his, and someone in that vehicle opened fire, killing Ramkishan. And with his family on hand, police today announced a $25,000 reward in that case. Investigators believe Ramkishan's shooting was a case of mistaken identity. Just a week after he was gunned down, there was another shooting on the 410. The victim in that incident driving a car similar to Ramkishan's. Forensic investigators were later able to link the two crimes.
It has been established that the firearm used in the homicide of Jason Ramkishan is also one of the two firearms used in the second 410 shooting on November 20th, 2018.
Now, the person shot in that second incident survived. Investigators believe he was the intended target. Police recovered the gun used in both crimes in an unrelated investigation over the summer. And there's still a lot of shock and sadness at a Toronto community housing building in Scarborough tonight. It's where a 2-year-old girl died when an air conditioning unit fell on her from an 8th floor window. The little girl was with her mother, brother, and sister at the time, and we're learning tonight her name was Crystal Mirago, and her family has hired a lawyer to conduct an investigation into her death. Greg Ross visited the building on Lawrence Avenue today and spoke with some of the family's neighbors.
The mother's scream, I will never forget. Like, be honest with you, that's like stuck in my head forever.
This woman, who didn't want to appear on camera, says after hearing the screams, she ran to her window and she was devastated when she realized they were coming from a woman who lives just down the hall. She says the woman was pushing her 2-year-old daughter in a stroller. They were about to enter the building when the little girl was hit by an air conditioning unit that fell from this 8th floor window.
Seeing the stroller, like basically in pieces.
To make matters worse, she says the little girl's 7-year-old brother and 5-year-old sister were also there and saw it happen.
Those kids will be traumatized for life. Like I am traumatized. Can you imagine being them? losing a sibling.
This woman knows the family. She says the mother called her on the phone for help moments after it happened.
All I saw, the baby was inside the ambulance, and the mom was yelling. I came and I took the other two kids with me, and I went upstairs.
Toronto police have investigated. A spokesperson called it a freak accident, but said there was no reason to press charges against the person that owned the air conditioning unit. According to Toronto Community Housing, residents in their buildings must have permission from their landlords before installing an air conditioning unit in their window. And once it is installed, it has to meet with certain safety requirements. Toronto Community Housing say they are also investigating. At this point, they say they aren't sure what caused the air conditioner to fall from the window. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
A Whitby courtroom heard from Toronto police officer Michael Theriault for the first time today. He admitted he caused the severe injury that blinded Devontae Miller. But Theriault, who was off duty at the time, says he did it through punches and never hit Miller with a pipe. Theriault and his brother are charged with aggravated assault and obstruction of justice for the December 2016 incident. Loretta Redicop has the latest.
Today, the defense began to lay out its case, calling Michael Theriault as its first witness. His lawyer, Michael Lacey, asked, "Did you strike Devontae Miller at any time with a pipe?" Theriault answered, "No, I did not." "Did you strike him at any time with a weapon?" "No, I did not." Asked if he sees his brother hit Miller with a pipe, he also says no. Lacey asks, "Did you see anyone using a pipe that night?" His response, Devontae Miller. At that point, Miller's supporters in the courtroom laugh. The judge quickly quiets the outburst. Lacey asks Theriault if he caused the catastrophic injury to Miller. "Yes, I did." "Lacey, how did you cause that injury?" "With my fist." Theriault says he was in sock feet, smoking in the garage. His brother, Christian Theriault, in shorts. They chased Miller after hearing doors to their parents' truck in the driveway close. He says once he caught up to Miller, he body-checked him. Then says it was Miller who hit him with a pipe. His brother got Miller in a headlock. Miller punching his brother, Theriault punching Miller repeatedly in the face and body. He says he manages to grab the pipe and throws it aside, but at some point later picks it up again to keep it from Miller. The Crown questioned why he never yelled out that Miller was under arrest and to stop. The Crown also suggested a different possibility. Peter Scrutton told Theriault, "I'm going to suggest, sir, is the reason you body-checked him rather than grab him is that your hands are carrying this pipe." Theriault answered, "That's not correct, sir." The Crown asks, why didn't he have any blood on him, given the amount of blood on Miller's face? Scrutton also points to an evidence photo of the door where Miller banged looking for help and suggested a scratch was caused by Theriault hitting with the pipe. Theriault also reported no injuries. The defense wrapped up its case today without calling Christian Theriault as a witness. Court will be back on January 29th for closing arguments. Loretta Redicop, CBC News, Oshawa.
This Toronto condo dweller with a great view spent more than a year analyzing the city skyline to see just how many units are actually vacant. And the answer was a bit surprising. I'm City Hall reporter Lauren Pelly, and we'll have that story coming up.
There are renewed calls tonight for a national ban on handguns and assault weapons. Gun control advocates and medical professionals joining together at Toronto City Hall today.
I have experienced firsthand of losing a child. And losing a child is a devastating issue for the parents, for siblings, and for the whole community. I call all level of government to do something about it.
Now, the gathering happened just before a Toronto Board of Health meeting where officials approved several measures aimed at taking a public health approach to gun violence. That means improving programs and resources tackling the root causes of violence. In 2 weeks, councillors will look at whether they should urge the federal government to approve a nationwide handgun ban.
Significantly improved national gun controls are an element in dealing with gun violence, which is a problem not just in Toronto, as well as changes to the bail laws, as well as investments in communities, which is something, again, that I raised very specifically with the Prime Minister when I spoke with him in the last couple of weeks.
During the federal election campaign, the Liberals promised to prohibit some assault weapons and allow cities to ban handguns, but stopped short of a national ban. According to police statistics, Toronto is on pace to set a new record for shootings this year. Well, just how many homes and condos are sitting vacant in this city? Well, City Hall doesn't keep those numbers, so it's long been a bit of a mystery. Now, one condo dweller has decided to answer that question by collecting his own data using his own view of the skyline. Lauren Pelly tells us how he did it and what he found.
On and off against a black Toronto sky, most condo lights flicker like fireflies, while others never turn on.
I've always heard the stories about people being like, you can always look at the lights to see how, if people are living in a building.
This condo dweller with a sweeping skyline view decided to find out the numbers for himself, spending more than a year capturing and analyzing the nightly light show.
I wrote a little script that let my computer do automated photography every 5 minutes, nonstop. And then in the morning I would wake up and I would just download all the photos and process them.
Then he crunched the numbers to find out just how many units could be sitting vacant downtown.
It turns out that it was 5.6%, which was, a lot higher than I thought.
City officials say there's no reliable research, though data on residents' hydro and water usage does show up to 4% of homes, or 28,000 units, are low consumption. That could mean a building is being renovated or the owner is traveling, while in other cases, it's just an empty investment property. A few years ago, Vancouver tried to curb the practice by taxing owners of empty homes.
And I'm open to exploring whether this would be the right measure for Toronto.
That pledge from the mayor was back in 2017. Councillor Anna Bailau says the city needs to speed up efforts to bring a tax here too.
It's actually trying to incentivize people to use homes for what they're actually supposed to be used.
There are so many units that are not being used as housing.
This housing expert says taxing owners could change that if it's done right.
You don't want to penalize people who are not causing the problem. For example, I buy a house and I don't move into it for half a year for various reasons, and the other party has moved out. Well, that's an exception, for example, in Vancouver.
When it comes to Vancouver's vacant housing tax, it's not yet clear just how many units it's actually brought back into the market. What is clear is they've raised tens of millions of dollars in new revenue, and most of that is pinpointed for affordable housing projects, which begs the question why Toronto is waiting so long to decide if we're going to implement a tax like this here, when it seems there could be more empty condos in the city than we think. Lauren Pelly, CBC News, Toronto.
Here's a live look at our skyline. Don't worry, we're not using our CBC camera to count vacant units right now. Those units should be full, though. It's pretty cold to head outside. Colette has your full forecast coming up after the break.
The weather update is brought to you by Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train.
Many fans of the hit game show Jeopardy were moved to tears last night after a contestant flashed a sign saying, "What is We Love You, Alex?"
No, what is We Love You, Alex? That's very kind. Thank you. Costs you $19.95. You're left with $5. Okay.
Alex Trebek has been outspoken about his ongoing struggle with pancreatic cancer. He recently revealed he's having another round of treatment. Trebek grew up in Sudbury and got his start at CBC. He's been the face of Jeopardy for 35 years. Now, the show is holding a special episode to raise money for pancreatic cancer later this week. Nicola Kennedy's back with her extended forecast. I'm afraid to ask how long this cold's going to last.
Yeah, it's with us for a little bit, Mike, but I do see light or warmth at the end of the tunnel. We get into a bit of a warm up towards the end of the week, but more significant for the beginning of next week. So it is going to be coming. In the meantime, we have so much to deal with the Arctic air in place, but the winds coming across the relatively warmer waters of the lakes. And then with the extreme cold we're going to see tonight, record setting again, as I was mentioning earlier in the show. And we are looking at that extreme cold weather alert for the city, but some of the snow squall areas in white is where we have the warnings. Yellow is where you're getting into watches, and even some travel advisories, those areas in blue, just because some of the snow from these squalls making their way so far inland. Speaking of snow, a look at our amounts from the system that just moved through. St. Catharines over 20 centimeters, Windsor and Oakville 19. In fact, Windsor, you were 19.1 to be more accurate. Hamilton 17 centimeters. Toronto downtown and Whitby 15. In fact, Whitby, you had about 15 and a half, and at Pearson 13.6 centimeters of snow. Now, our high this time of year 7.8, our average low, and as I say, we're going down to minus 13. By the way, it was a record. 3 centimeters was a record from yesterday, so obviously we smashed that. At least we won't beat today's 1943. That's been holding in since. So with the northwesterly winds, yes, the squalls set up. Tomorrow afternoon and evening, we get into a little more cloud cover. Watch this carefully as we go overnight into Thursday. It's not terribly strong, a dusting to a centimeter or two of snowfall coming back at us and hanging in there for the Thursday morning commute. Thursday afternoon, things should start to improve a little bit. Temperatures overnight for southwestern Ontario, that's what the temperatures look like, but this is how it will feel, like minus 18. And tomorrow climbing, because the winds will change towards the south to southwest in the afternoon, so climbing at least closer to freezing. Overnight for the city and the GTA and beyond, keep in mind that wind chill. We feel that towards tomorrow morning, 7, 8 o'clock, still feeling like that. Tomorrow afternoon, highs around -4 with increasing clouds coming a little later. I said there'd be a little bit of a warm up to you, Mike, so that comes 1, 2 degrees for highs into Friday. But Saturday, cold air, one day only. Sunday, we start to climb up again. And of course, Sunday also, the parade, the Santa parade.
At least it kind of warms up for that. But
A little bit, yeah, it
Friday.
does.
Okay, thanks a lot, Colette.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Christy.
Well, there's someone using the November snow to their advantage. Yeah, this is snowboarder. She is shredding powder in a parking lot in Markham. She's holding onto a rope being towed by a truck, riding through all the flurries we got yesterday. Well, they may not be the slopes, but it sure looks like she had fun. As long as she had a helmet on there. And of course, snowboarders will be able to do the real thing tomorrow. Horseshoe Resort in Barrie is planning to open tomorrow. It's actually going to be the earliest opening of that particular ski hill on record. The previous one was set back in 1995. That's our newscast for tonight. I'll see you back here tomorrow night at 11. We want to leave you now with some pictures from the Minneapolis airport, where they've recruited therapy cats to help calm the nerves of nervous travelers. Big travel season coming up there, of course. In case you are wondering, there are similar programs using dogs at airports in Montreal, Calgary, and right here at Pearson. I don't know about cats, though. Good night.